So, as everyone knows, the 2026 midterm elections are a couple months away. And I really believe that this is a good time to really delve into the idea that the 2026 elections could potentially be a reversal of what happened in 2022, where instead of Republicans underperforming expectations by a big amount, it's the Democrat Party that faces the same issue, where they underperform expectations by a lot. And it gets to the point where maybe they take back the House, or maybe, just maybe, in a worst case scenario, they don't even retake the House. Now, to be clear about this, I am not saying that this is my official prediction for 2026. I still think that as of now, Democrats are the clear favorites to retake the House. Not so much the Senate, but the House right now, I think, is leaning towards Democrats. With that being said, you begin to really look at what's been going on the last year and a half, and you begin to realize that, hey, wait a second here. There are a bunch of similarities to what happened back in 2022 to what's going on today, except not for the GOP, but for the Democrats. Just look at this headline right here from Axios. Establishment Democrats face blowback for trying to play kingmaker. Yeah. So I've been wanting to talk about this for a while now, but at the right time, Axios dropped this article detailing that Democrats are experiencing a problem that Republicans were facing back in 2022 and even a little bit in 2024, where you would have these extremely contested primaries that go down the wire. They waste the party millions of dollars. In some races, like in Arizona Senate race, tens of millions of dollars, countless thousands of hours of manpower just wasted on these primaries that you could argue should have really not been that competitive. They should have went behind one candidate, but no, that's not what really happened, especially in 2022. But now Democrats are facing the same problem, and that's not good, because you can argue that Republicans underperformed in 2022 for a multitude of reasons, but one of the biggest reasons people cite, it's because of these competitive primaries, not just in one or two states and that's it. We're talking about dozens of competitive primaries in the House, a bunch in the Senate. It just goes up and down the ballot. There are so many primaries everywhere that it drained Republican money and resources and manpower across the board. And it did not give the nominees enough time to unite the party and try to win in November. That was a huge problem. That's a big reason why Republicans, they failed in 2022. That's not the only reason, of course, but really, you can make the strong argument that was the biggest reason. If it wasn't for these extremely competitive primaries in Arizona, for example, there's a chance that you potentially maybe not win the seat, but come a lot closer. That primary killed Blake Masters. He did not have enough time or money to make up for the ground you lost because these idiots spending like $30 million attacking him. It was insane. But that's the problem. And now Democrats are facing the same issue. Some Democratic candidates are learning the hard way that there's a cost of being party leadership's favorite in a hotly contested primary. This is the strategy Democrats had. Heading into 2026, their main strategy is kind of what Republicans did back in 24 and a little bit of 26. It's not perfect everywhere, but the idea is, okay, we're going to find one person, one strong candidate to run in this race. Everybody else, get the hell out of here. You're going to drop out, or else you're getting no support. You're not going to win. That's a big reason why in 2026, yeah, there's been some very contested primaries, like in Texas, for example. That was an extremely contested primary, but that wasn't the norm. In fact, that was kind of the exception to the rule. Like, yes, Georgia was competitive, so was Texas. But look at places like North Carolina, Oklahoma, Wyoming, even New Hampshire, you could argue it's not really that competitive. Yes, I know Scott Brown's running, But guys, John Sununu is winning that race. He's going to win the primary and hopefully win in November. But either way, you get the point that, yeah, in 2026, Republicans have done a fairly good job at uniting the party behind one candidate, especially in competitive races, especially in the House. Again, it's not been perfect. There's been very contested primaries, but you get the point. The opposite is true for Democrats. In fact, you can make the argument that Democrats trying to intervene in these primaries, it's actually hurting their preferred candidates. Like it says right here, this echoes the Tea Party wave that hit Republicans in the 2010s, with party outsiders harnessing primary voters' anger to win upset victories over established candidates. And I think that's what's going on here. There are a bunch of these hotly contested primaries that Democrats threw everything at, trying to get their preferred, more electable candidate, the stronger candidate of the two or the three or whatever. But the reality is they have failed basically everywhere. Everywhere they try this stunt, it has failed. Unlike the GOP, where, yeah, there's been some hiccups here and there, but most of the time, if they try to clear out the field, like in North Carolina, like in Oklahoma Senate race, they've done a decent enough job. Democrats, meanwhile, all they've actually done is make these competitive primaries even more brutal, spending millions of dollars on these nonsensical races that doesn't help them. All it does actually hurt Democrats for 2026. The first blow for Democrats came earlier this month in California's 22nd district, when the moderate assembly member Jusmeet Baines lost to the progressive challenger despite being backed by the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee. And this was a big deal because California's 22nd is an extremely competitive race. We're not talking about just some random D+20 seat. No, this is like R+2. Trump won this seat by 2 points. And yes, there are some concerning elements surrounding this district. It's very Hispanic. And in the first round for the primaries, it was kind of bad for turnout for the GOP. But still, at the same time, Democrats were trying to get behind Baines, and instead, they got stuck with Villegas. And he is a progressive challenger. There are a lot of questions surrounding him. There's a chance he wins. I'm not saying he's for sure going to lose, but this was like a pathetic showing for them. Like, seriously, you're going to lose this? You spent how much money and time, and you failed? But you could argue that's not even the worst example. On Thursday, another DCCC endorsee, State Senator John Baldacki, lost a Democrat primary in Maine 2nd to progressive rival and state auditor Matt Dunlap. And this is a much bigger deal because, fine, California 22nd, that is essentially a 50-50 seat. Like, you could argue Vegas is not the strongest candidate, whatever. The point is, that is at least 50-50. That is a race that he could potentially win in a wave here. Here's the issue in Maine 2nd. This is not a district that Trump won by 2 points in 2024. No, he won it by like 15 points or whatever. This is an extremely Republican area. And the only reason Democrats held this seat, it was because of Jared Golden. And they forced him out at the 11th hour because I don't know why you would. That was just stupid. And they had a very competitive primary, and they went with the progressive challenger in Dunlap. You just can't make this up. In a Trump plus 10 to 15 seat, you're going to run a progressive challenger. That's a weird strategy, isn't it? Again, Trump plus 1 or 2, that's one thing. A wave year could potentially save them. But Trump plus 10 to Trump plus 15, you think Jared Golden won because he was a progressive? Yeah, he was kind of a Democrat line vote on most things, but he ran as a moderate. It was bullshit, but there were some issues that he was a bit more moderate on compared to other Democrats. But now you're going with a full-blown progressive. Like, this strategy, what are you guys doing? You should not be picking these progressive candidates in Maine 2nd, and I know Maine 2nd, it's a little bit different. It is a bit more of a ticket splitting district. I get that they do vote Democrat once in a while, but still, you're going to go with a full blown progressive in a Trump plus 10 seat? That is insane. And the Democrat Party, like it says here, they were doing everything they could to stop this guy from winning because they know, oh shit, if this nutcase actually wins a primary, we're screwed here. We are screwed here. And they threw everything at this race and it failed. And now the DCCC, the House Democrats campaign arm, this strategy is backfired. Not just in their candidates are losing, but now there's large chunks of the party that are infuriated right now. They are just stunned that the DCCC, they're intervening in these primaries, trying to add to its red to blue list of these seats that they think they could win. And now they're throwing a lot of money and time at some of these districts that originally they would not intervene in. But out of nowhere, these are contested primaries that this group is spending a lot of money on. They're spending $100,000 in California's 22nd, like $8,000 in Maine 2nd. They're starting to throw a lot of money at time at some of these seats. And it seems like the more they intervene, like they're trying to, the more these outsider progressives, they surge. Like it says right here, outsider progressives have used the intervention to draw on growing anti-establishment sentiments among the party grassroots. So the double-edged sword now. If you don't intervene, these candidates, they probably win their primaries. And come November, you're screwed. These people, they're going to underperform the expected margin. But at the same time, if you do intervene, all you do is embolden the progressive base and piss off the party grassroots even further. And for those that think, oh, there's no way this has any impact on primaries, look at this. Vegas's campaign sent out a press release in late May labeling Baines the DCCC's handpicked candidate in its subject line. Dunlop ran ads calling Badaki a puppet owned by DC corporate bosses. Yeah. So these campaigns, they're just waiting until these idiots, they try to intervene and it's too late. These progressives, they're already surging. They didn't try to do this before the primaries. They're doing it in the middle of it. And now it gives a progressive base something to run on. Like, oh, we're going to stand up to the Democrat establishment. Vote for me. And now you're ending up with these candidates that potentially will underperform significantly. After the DCCC added Bolton to the list, his progressive rival, Kinter, sent a statement to Axios that he was handpicked by an out-of-touch group that seems disconnected from the realities facing families. Again, this strategy the Democrats are running on, where they're going to intervene in primaries now, it's failing. They're wasting all this money and time on these primaries when the more they do that, the less likely their preferred candidates win. It is just insane to think that Democrats, they put themselves into this mess. What were they doing for the last year and a half? They had all this time to unite the party behind one candidate. But instead, they waited till after the candidates were finalized, the primary's been ongoing, to finally intervene. Like, what are you guys doing? You're going to waste all this time and money. You're going to divide your party even further. You're demoralizing your own people. It is a failure all around. And it's very similar to what happened back in 2022. I know it's a little bit different, not the same comparison. I get that. But still, Democrats have these contested primaries that they're making worse by playing these games, pissing off their core base even further in the process. And now it's a lose-lose situation. You end up with potentially unelectable candidates in these districts that you need strong candidates to win in. It is not a good sign for Dems at all. Is it the end of the world? Maybe not. But man, this does seem familiar that Democrats, they're running these candidates trying desperately to get the stronger pick nominated. And all they're doing is adding fuel to the fire and giving these progressives ammunition to use against them. It's going to be very interesting to see how the rest of these primaries play out. But man, this strategy from the looks of it has failed. I just don't get it. Why would you wait till after the fact? You could have done this beforehand. You could have done this last year. You get rid of the other candidates, unite behind one person, and you don't have to waste a bunch of money. As a reminder, Democrats right now, they're bankrupt. They can't fundraise worth a damn, and they have no money on hand, especially compared to the GOP. The DNC's in so much debt. How can they afford this and then in a couple months run a full-blown campaign? We shall see what happens, but man, not a good sign for Dems. Anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, and of course, join the channel today. Godspeed to all of you.